Hello guys, welcome to our lesson, and in this section I just thought of how about I bring kind of a revision on just question 1. You know, this is a question that usually makes you make it or break it, because when you start struggling with question 1 in your grade 12, it builds up more pressure, more stress as you continue exam. So you want to enter, or you want to start that exam on a good footing. So it will require you to do so well in your question 1. Remember guys, question 1 is based on your grade 11 work, and you cannot afford to take it for granted. So you need to definitely have a way of ensuring that you pass or you get all those question 1 questions correctly. Simple reason, it builds your confidence for the whole exam. It can make you break into that room, it can make you panic, but if you're going to have a way of answering it, trust me, it can build your confidence towards the exam. So now I thought of bringing in question 1, and let's look at a few things that sometimes they're covered in question 1, the instructions that you need to know as you're beginning your exam. Answer all questions, and then remember this part to say you need to round off your answers to 2 decimal places unless stated otherwise. Don't forget that. And information sheet with formula is included at the end of the paper. That is important. And then you need to be neat with your work. So this is just a few things that you always have to check with your instructions. So there is question 1. I took an example from a past paper. I think this paper was written in June 2019. Yes, it's the Department of Gauteng. So now let's look at question 1. As you can see, it is this question that I say will make you kind of give you more room to be confident with your exam. Now the first question says solve for x. Now when you're solving for x, you can look at all these questions. If you check carefully, question 1.1, question 1.2, 1.1.2, 1.1.3, 1.1.4, 1.2 and 1.3. It's more like you are just solving for x, and most of these are based on your grade 11 work. So now what's the total mark allocation? This question is out of 22, so which is very good for you to actually ace it. Let's look at this question. First one, these ones are not much complicated. I'm not going to spend much time here. Question 1.1, solve for x. You are given that. Now easier way is to do your brackets, as most students do. But if you are not good with doing your brackets, remember, you put your x, and then you're going to say 6 factors of 6, and then 5, you try your 3, and because you'll be trying like the number multiply and I add, so you like 5, you like 1, you like 6. You know, if you feel like you're not able to follow that rule and all that kind of mental thing, the best thing is to use your quadratic equation. Now these first questions, one thing I will encourage you, avoid thinking a lot, because it will exhaust your mental energy. So you don't have to think a lot, you just want to rely on your calculator here, because there are more questions that you're going to be thinking later. So quickly go for the quadratic formula, and don't write this formula from your head. Go to the formula at the back of your formula sheet. As I say, avoid thinking a lot. So there is the formula that we have in your formula sheet. This is the quadratic formula, and avoid thinking a lot. You know, I know you might think that you already know the formula, but it's good for you to have a quick look at it, and then you write that formula down. So it says what? X is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now remember, the aim is not to think much, but to just apply it as quickly as you can. So you compare it with your general equation of the quadratic equation. Remember, it's ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So you start comparing. Where there is a, it means there is a 1. So you can see there is our a is equal to 1. Check the b. There is, if I cut there where there is the x, you see the b is -5. And then check the c. Again, the c is, when I do that, I've got c is -6. So that's how I usually use to find my a, b, and c. So when I write now my equation, it will be x is equal to minus, so there is that negative sign there for the formula, and then I've got b. Now look at the sign for b, because that's where they want to catch you there, to say, are you aware that the formula has a negative as well as b has a negative? So you protect that with a bracket, and then plus or minus square root of b squared. So it's -5 squared. Now avoid doing this, writing this like this, and you say -5 squared. This is wrong. Or you say -5 squared like that. This is also wrong. So don't find yourself doing those kind of errors. So the right one is to have -5 and the square is outside the bracket and the negative and 5 are inside the bracket, meaning the square affects both the negative and 5. The reason why I'm saying that, just look at this in your calculator. If you say -5 squared, you see, you're getting a -25. Even if you put a bracket here, right, you're still getting a -25. So the right way of doing it is to ensure that you put the right, let me actually say bracket, -5 squared. The answer actually is supposed to be +25. So you see the reason why I'm saying don't put it the wrong way. -4, my a is 1 and my c is -6. Don't forget that. Everything in brackets. Now you are dividing that by 2, and bracket my a, according to the formula there, is 1. This one, don't overthink it. Calculator is your way to go. And after that, you just have to punch that, which is minus bracket -5, close the bracket, plus square root of bracket -5 squared, as is -4 bracket 1 bracket -6. See that? Then over 2 bracket 1. So you got that. Then you get your answer. X is equal to +6. You play back and get the -1. So x is +6 and x is equal to -1. So x is 6 or x is equal to -1. It is always very important for you to test your answers, because in as much as you know you're correct, but you never know. Just test your answers quickly. So what you just do is you take your calculator, and what you then do is to enter those values into the calculator. So what you do there, the first one is x is 6, so you say bracket 6 squared -5 bracket 6 -6. It must give you a 0. There you're getting a 0. Playback. Now you put the second value, which is -1. So you have got a -1 where there is 6 now, and -1 where there was 6, where there was x. So that is that. It must also give you a 0. That is a quick way to say you are correct. So this was not much. You get your 2 marks, but it is very important to practice it well, because remember, as I said, these are questions that are building your confidence. They are building your momentum as you approach this exam. So done with the first one, we're going for the second one. Then it says you are given that, solve for x, correct to 2 decimal places. You see, now that you've been using your quadratic equation, this time you definitely have to rely on it, because when they say correct to 2 decimal places, there is no other ways either to complete a square, which is not examinable in your grade 12, but the most important thing is the quadratic equation. What do? You see you have got brackets there, which is your 3x minus 1 and your x minus 4 says equal to 16. Now because of this 16, you are forced, because of that particular 16 there, you are forced to open up this bracket on the left hand side. So you have to open it up, that multiplies and that multiplies, so that you have got 3x times x, which is 3x squared, 3x times 4. Again, always use your calculator. I don't know how many times I emphasize on students, remember you don't want to think a lot so that you can exhaust your energy, your mental energy, and you don't want to make errors. So when you're dealing with this, just take a calculator, act like you're stupid, and say 3 times negative 4. It's negative 12. In a time of pressure, you'll find yourself writing 12 instead of negative 12. So I've got my negative 12 there. But remember, it's negative 12x because I multiplied x. Minus 1 times x, this one is not a difficult one. It's minus 1x. Minus 1 times minus 4, it's 4. Yes, it's fine, but take a calculator. Minus 1 times minus 4. You don't want to find yourself writing a negative 4. You can't afford to lose all these marks. Remember, 4 marks, but you can't afford to lose them. This is equal to 16. Now, when you have done that, you can take the 16 to join the other side and add whatever are like terms. So you've got 3x squared. Now minus 12x minus 1x. You see, I just take a calculator. I don't want to think a lot. So minus 12 minus 1, it's minus 13. So you've got minus 13x. And then remember it to be 4 minus 16. So you take a calculator and you have your 4 minus 16. It gives me my negative 12. This now equal to 0 because 16 went on that side. Guys, I'm using a calculator. It looks like it's insignificant. It looks like it's not important. But trust me, when there is an exam paper in front of you, errors are easy to make. So the calculator here is your friend. When you have arranged it like this, it now matches your quadratic equation, which is your ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So you start to compare now the coefficients there. So if you can cut it there, you see the x squared is outside, so which means your a is equal to positive 3. You do the same thing, you cut it there, and you look at your b. You can see that here b is not just 13 but negative 13. Then next you go for c. Now in this particular case, c is everything that is outside, like that. I mean, that is everything with a sign. So you can see that here c is negative 12. When you've done that, go straight for your quadratic formula. What does it say? Remember, we have the formula previously to say, go check your formula and make sure you write the right thing. Write it as it appears. So you've got your x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, then that division sign over 2a. Make sure the division sign also covers b, please. Most of the students, you find them, they write it like this, whereby the division line is just covering like that. That is not correct and they'll penalize you there. So do the right thing. When you have done that, you can write now your values, input your values there. X is minus b, so we've got minus. Now look at the value of b. The b is negative 13, so again, that's where they want to catch you. That is where they just want to catch you. Plus or minus, minus 13, again here, with a square, that's where they want to catch you. Minus 4, a is 3, and c is negative 12. They just want to make sure that are you able to substitute over 2 and our a is 3. Please don't put the value of c. Some students confuse it with the value of c. When you've done that, again, your go-to guy, which is a calculator, it will have to solve for you this. So now when you do that, and see what it gives me in this case. So what do I have? I have minus bracket minus 13, right, plus square root of bracket negative 13 squared minus 4 bracket 3 bracket negative 12, right, and I play down to bracket 3. So you see, I got this, but remember they say to 2 decimal places I get this answer. Now when I get this answer, I have to, let me just quickly check again if I did the right thing. Is minus 13 plus, I've got 13 squared minus 4 3 minus 12 over let me go down to 3. So far so good. Then after that I do my SD. It gives me 5.115. They say to 3 decimal place. I can use my calculator to round off for me. I press shift setup and then 6. Then I press 2 decimal place there from 0 to 9 because I need 2. I do that, press SD. It's 5.12. So the first one is 5.12. So x is equal to 5.12, or what is the other value of x? So now if I look at the other value of x, remember I play back to delete that, put a negative and put SD, negative 0.78. So I've got negative 0.78. So these are the values of x that I'm getting. But now don't be too comfortable and too overconfident now not to test your answer. What you do, you go back to your original. Always go back to your original. You can see this is your original and it says 3x, the blah 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 blah. Now you're going to input the values where there is that. You put the original value. If you put negative 0.78, this one will work, but it won't give you the exact 16 because it is already rounded off. So what you need to do, you need to use the original and the one that is not yet rounded off. So if you do that, for example, you see, if I take this back, say setup, and then I press 8 to return it to normal, and then press 1, then my answer, my previous answer was, the last answer I got, if I press SD, it was this one. So now, because I want to test it here, so what I'll do, remember, if you go and say answer, the calculator always keeps your last answer. So what I'm going to do, I have a bracket, and then I say 3 answer, that answer that I got, minus 1, close the bracket, open the bracket, answer minus 4. Remember the answer is that minus 0.78, blah 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 blah. When I do this, it must give me a 16. If it does that, it means I did my solution correct. I don't need to test the second one. Chances are very high that this is correct. So that's how you can, remember, you're trying to build your rapport, you're trying to build your confidence in this, you're trying to make sure that you make as minimal errors as possible. So that's how you approach it. Now, next one, 1.1.3. It says 4x squared minus this is greater than or equal to 0. Again, you are solving for x. What you need to do, this one requires you to get critical values. So it's 4x minus x squared is greater than or equal to 0. This is also a quadratic equation. You could have used a quadratic equation, but you can simply solve it by if you equal to 0, you can simply solve it by factorization. Take out x, you can see that x is common there. X into 4x, you are left with 4 minus x into x squared, only 1x will remain. This is equal to 0. When you have done this, remember, when I expand and expand, it will take me to the original. So that's why I'm saying that is the easiest way of doing it. Therefore, it says either this x is equal to 0, so x is equal to 0, or whatever is in the brackets, which is 4 minus x, is equal to 0. So how do you solve this? Take the x, which is negative, to the other side. You will have 4 is equal to x. or simple means x is equal to 4. That's what it means. If you rearrange it, you've got your x is equal to 4. Now you've got your critical values. These we call them critical values. X is equal to 4 and x is equal to 0. Then you draw your number line. Because you've got your critical values, you draw your number line so that you can test these critical values and see what is what. So for example, remember 0 starts, and after 0 you've got 4. Remember, this is the number line. It's going this direction and going that direction. So now in 0 and 4 we test the number between 0 and 4. Let's choose any number. For example, let's choose 2. So I'll test with 2. After 0, before 0, I'll test with -4. Here, any number just to think of, I'll test with 6. I'm just choosing any numbers. And then I want to check my signs as I'm testing with these numbers. So what I do, take a calculator and you start with -4. So remember, you input -4 into that expression 4 bracket -4, and then minus bracket -4 squared. Notice the sign. I'm interested only in the signs, not the number. It's a negative. Okay, so I play back. Now I put 2 instead of 4. So it's that. I put 2 and I put 2 this time. Again, I must notice the sign. It was negative. Now the sign is 4, which is positive. I do the same thing with 6. Put 6. I put 6. Notice the sign. Now it's negative. So it moved from negative, then it became positive, then it became negative. So you must check my lessons on this one, because I do a lot of examples on this so that I can show you 2 different ways how this appear. But for now, for the sake of time, this is what you're getting. Now when you've done that, you go back to the original. The original equation has got greater than or equal to. That sign, the word greater, if something is greater than 0, means it is positive. So the word greater than is positive, meaning I must go and focus on my positive. Then my answer symbol is in this range from here to here. That's where the positive is. You see that? So I write it. You start with the 0, you have the 4, put the x in the center, and then you've got that sign, and it's always that sign. Always maintain it like that. In my other lessons, I tell you if the answer is here, how you write that and how you write that. But for now, this is how you have to write your answer. So what you do again, let me repeat. When the answer is in the center, you have got your x, then you have got your 0, and you have got your 4. Then you just do that, same side, you do that. That's how you write the answer. So that is how you solve for your 3 marks there. How about the other 3 marks? 1.1.4. This is 3 marks. Again, it's up to you how you want to solve this one. But in a way, what are they giving? They're saying 5 to the power 2x minus 1 over 5x plus 1 is equal to 4. You know, it's 3 marks, meaning there was a simpler way of doing it. But just to go the longer route, if you see this 2 mark, this 2x, and you see the x, chances are it will be a quadratic equation. Chances are very high it will be a quadratic equation. And usually you will use the K method. It makes things easier for you to see. So what you do, you take that, remember, 5 to the power 2x minus 1 over 5 to the power x plus 1 is equal to 4. You can say 4 over 1. So why am I doing that? Just want to cross multiply. This multiplies the 1 multiplies that top, and the 4 multiplies that bottom. When I do that, it will then become 5 to the power 2x minus 1 times 1 will remain like that, is equal to 4 into 5 to the power x, not 2x this time, It's 5 to the power x and plus 1. See that? Then you have to open this bracket, expand and expand. So you have got 5 to the power 2x minus 1 is equal to, now this is what students sometimes get tempted to. They multiply 4 times 5, they'll say 20 to the power x. Now that is wrong, because just picture it like this. If I say to you 2 times 3 to the power 2, this is not 2 times 3, then it's 6 to the power of 2. Now, what is 2 times 3 to the power 2? 3 to the power 2 is 9, so it's 2 times 3 squared, remember, is 9. Now, 2 times 9 is 18, but you would have said your answer here was 36. So you see that these two don't work together. So don't be tempted like that. If it's 4 times 5 to the power x, it remains as 4.5 to the power x. That particular power x is protecting the 5. Do not multiply the 4 and the 5, because it is protected by this power x. I hope you will not make that mistake. And then 4 times 1, it is plus 4. Collect like terms, bring everything on one side, like 5 to the power 2x is this side. Then take that to the other side, it becomes minus 4.5 to the power of x, right? And then after that you have got minus 1, and the 4 also goes to the other side, it becomes minus 4 is equal to 0. Then you have got 5 to the power of 2x, then minus 4.5 to the power of x minus 5 is equal to 0. Now remember, I said in these questions, avoid lots of thinking. Don't think too much, don't overthink it. You don't want to use your mental energy. Now, there is the part of quadratic. When you see 2x and you see x, as I said, you must know it's a quadratic. But what am I saying again? You see this 5 to the power 2x is same as saying 5 to the power x dot 5 to the power of x. Let me give you an example. If I say to you 5 to the power 3, just a number 3 so that we can use a calculator. This 5 to the power 3 is same as saying 5 to the power 2 dot 5 to the power 1, because if you add 2 plus 1, you get 3. You can test it with the calculator and say 5 to the power 3, 5 cubed, 5 to the power 3 is 125. Then if you say 5 squared times 5 to the power 1, see, 125. So it's the same thing. So it means if I say 5 squared, this is same as saying 5. Now 2 is 1 times 5, 1. I'm using the first law of exponents. So why? Because 1 plus 1 is, 5 squared, 5 times 5 is 25 here. And then 5 to the power 1 times 5 to the power 1 is 25, So I'm just using the laws of exponents here. Similarly, it means if I have got 5 to the power x plus x, this plus becomes 5 dot that plus, and then you've got your x there, 5 exponent x, because you have to add these two together. Now, when I've done that, that's why I'm saying here, this part of 5 to the power 2x, now 2x is x plus x, so that's why I'm writing 5 to the power x, right, dot 5 to the power x. I just want you to see where the quadratic comes in. Minus 4 dot 5 to the power x minus 5 is equal to 0. Now, that's where I used the k method part here to say let 5 to the power x is equal to k. So what do you have now? Look at it. You have got, where there is 5 to the power x, we put k. So there is a k here, there is a k there, there is a k. So we've got k times k minus 4 times k minus 5 equal to 0. Now which is k squared? minus 4k minus 5 is equal to 0. Now, I know there was a very simpler way of doing this thing, but I'm doing it. Remember, this is for the underdogs, eh? I'm doing this for the underdogs, not for the clever ones, not for those who are already having no challenge with maths, but I'm looking for someone who says, I don't want to make any errors. I'm easy to be sometimes tricked, but I just want to make sure that I do the right things. So when you've done that quadratic equation, remember, there is a 1 there, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Again, you can solve it in many different ways, but it's fine. What is my a there? See, my a is 1. What's my b there? You see, you're cutting between the k represent x now. What's my b there? My b is negative 4. And what's my c? My c is negative 5. So you've got that quadratic equation formula. X is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. I'm using it because it allows me not to think a lot at the moment. I'm not thinking much, I'm just automatic, Calculator is doing most of the job. So b is minus 4 minus 4 plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 squared minus 4a. My a is 1, my c is negative 5 all over 2a. My a is 1. Then calculator comes handy, and then minus 4 plus square root of minus 4 squared minus 4 bracket 1 bracket minus 5, then all over 2 bracket 1, 2a, remember. So when I've done that, remember, x is, look at the answer, x is 5, play back, x is 5, delete, put minus, and x is minus 1. Now 5 and minus 1, but you can test it quickly. What you do is, you go back to the original, it's k squared, so it's answer squared, so it's, let me just not forget my answers. We say it here, minus 1 and 5. So let me write this. So now you see the error now I'm already making. I'm saying x, but I'm not solving for x now. Remember, for now, I'm now solving for k. So don't put x here, otherwise you'll get penalized because already the question says solve for x. So this is not x. This is k. This is k. So it was k is 5 or k is negative 1. So be careful of that one also. Now, as I said, test your answer quickly so that you ensure that you're doing the right thing. So what you do, you take any of it into the original, for example 5. So you're going to say answer squared, k squared minus 4k minus 4 answer, and then after that you have got minus 5. Right? Then you've got 0. See? So it's correct. So when you have done this, remember you told us to let. See that? You said let. So now you need to reconcile these two together. So you come back to the final answer now to say, but k is equal to, 5 to the power of x. But 5 to the power of x is equal to k. So now we've got the first one when k is 5. So 5 to the power of x is equal to 5. See, the bases are the same. Remember, there is a power 1 there. Therefore, x is equal to 1. When the bases are the same, you equate the exponents. Next one, we have got k. Let me first write it like this. 5 to the power of x is equal to k for the second value. Remember, there are two values. Is equal to k, and we have got k. Here k is negative 1. So you are going to have now 5 to the power of x is equal to 5 to the power of x is equal to minus 1. Now this is not a solution because you cannot have an exponent with a negative number like that. the negative before, there is no way you can solve that. So that is, as far as I'm concerned, as far as your grade 12 is concerned, this is not a solution. So that is where you end. So the value of x here is equal to 1. Remember, test your answers. Now, how do you test your answers? Go to the beginning, the question. So take a calculator again, and where you have x, what you're going to do, you're going to substitute. So you've got fraction 5, remember x is 1, 5 to the exponent 2, 1, that's where the value of x was, minus 1 over 5 to the power of 1 plus 1. This one must just give you a 4. So you see, it's correct. So this is how this was to be done. Remember, I'm dealing with underdogs, someone who says, I don't want to rush things, but at the same time, I need to finish on time. So that is how you could have approached that. It is a simpler way of approaching. Well, some, they will say, but couldn't you have done for 3 marks something quicker? Look at this one also as a quicker one. If I say 5 to the power 2x minus 1, now this part, I wanted to show you something. If I do this, just to show you something, but it comes with experience. If I say 5 to the power x minus 1 and 5 to the power x plus 1. Now let's open this bracket. Remember, this is like a difference of 2 squares. Multiply that. It's 5 to the power x times 5 to the power x. Again, multiply that plus 5 to the power x. Then multiply that minus 5 to the power x, and multiply that is minus 1. So the center ones will cancel. So 5x, 5 to the power of x, this part, remember we said this is x plus x is 2x minus 1. So do you see that? So if you were able to pick that one up, then this was going to be even more simpler. So you're going to say from here, you're going to say bracket like this. You know, just going to come out much quicker. You've got 5x plus 1, 5x minus 1. Why are you doing it? Because you are recognizing that the denominator and one of the numerators can cancel each other. So over 5 exponent x plus 1. So the reason why you're doing it, you wanted this and this to go. Then you'll say equal to 4, such that you have got 5 exponent x minus 1 is equal to 4. Take this to the other side. 5 exponent x is equal to 4 plus 1 is 5. Same base, same power. Equate the powers. X is equal to 1. I know 3 marks. This was worth the 3 marks. But if you're an underdog like me, you do not take things for granted. Unless you have practiced enough with such questions, I will encourage you to go through the long K method, but it will get you safely through the answers. Alright, now let us look at 1.2 of this part. Still going good. Now you need these 5 marks. You don't want to get rid of these 5 marks. Now let me warn you already. Simultaneous equations are there to ensure that you make errors. They are just checking out how strong is your negative sign. In algebra, the main thing that people struggle in algebra is your signs. Guys, check your negative signs. I repeat, guys, be careful of your negative signs. That's what they are checking for here. Now, you've got 2 equations. We'll call this equation 1. We call the other one equation 2. So, it will be like this. Let me just already give it more space. Start a little bit on top. Like this. So, with the simultaneous equation, as I say, it's based on errors. So the first one is what? X plus 3y is equal to 2, okay? And then what about the other one? Oh, let me try to write it on a fresh page because of space. Let me, x plus 3y, for example here, if I say x plus 3y, I've got x plus 3y, and then they say this is equal to 2. So I've got that one. We call this equation 1, and the other one is x squared plus 4xy minus 5, so which is x squared plus 4xy minus 5, and that is x squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Right, this is our equation 2. So there we go. First things first, look for the simplest equation of the two, and the simplest equation that I'm identifying is equation 1. Why? Because it's simple, x plus 3y. It's a straight line kind of a graph, so it's the one which is not quadratic. So that is the simplest equation. So pick it and do more with it. So what do I have? I have got x plus 3y is equal to 2. Now make either x or y the subject of the formula. Don't start making things difficult for yourself. You can see that x already is alone there. Take the y, 3y on the other side, so that you have got x is equal to 2 minus 3y. So don't make things complicated for yourself. This becomes your equation 3. When you have gotten your equation 3, then you're going to say equation 3 into equation 2. So what we're going to have, let's write equation 2, which is x squared plus 4xy minus 5 is equal to 0. That is where students start now missing it. Now look how I'm substituting. Remember, already I have the value of x. There is a reason why I was doing equation 3, so that wherever there is x, here I put that value. I come here, I also put that value that I got there. So how do you do it? There we go. You have got x squared, so it will be 2 minus 3y squared plus 4, and 2 minus 3y, and there is the y, minus 5 is equal to 0. Then of course I need to rearrange this and put it the right way. Now look at this. I've got, if I can write it further, now 2 minus 3y squared, it means there are two of them, 2 minus 3y, don't forget, and 2 minus 3y. Now let me show you sometimes a common error that is done by students when they come here to 2 minus 3y squared. Now they are tempted to say it will be this times that, it will be 2 squared minus 3 like 3y squared, you know, like this, so that it becomes 4 minus 3 squared is 9y squared. Now avoid that, because this squared cannot just enter like that, but it must do that. Remember, this is an expansion method. Don't take it for granted, but don't do this. This is not correct. You need to expand, and by expanding you need to do the normal expansion that you're used to, whereby we are saying here you have 2 times that. Okay, let me use different pen. So we have 2 times this, and the 2 also multiplies that, so that you've got 2 times 2, which is our 4, and then you have got 2 times 3, which is negative 6y. Negative 3 times 2, remember your calculator is your go-to place here. Use your calculator. Remember, when you're under pressure, your calculator is your go-to. Minus 3 times minus 3 is a positive 9y squared. As I told you here, they are looking for you to make errors. Then we continue. On top it was plus 4y. Now you see the 4 and the y, look what I did. I took the 4 and the y together, so it becomes 4y, and then it's 2 minus 3y minus 5, this equals 0. Then you do the same thing with the y. It multiplies like this, it multiplies like that, so that you'll be having 4 times 2, it's 8y, 4 times minus 3 is negative 12y squared. Remember y and y. Minus 5 equal to 0. Collect like terms and bring them together. There we have. So when I'm doing that, I will have 9y squared minus 12 y squared. These are the squared. Then after that, minus 6y minus 6y. Just collect them. The calculator will do everything for you. And then plus 4 minus 5 equals 0. Now you have to tick and make sure that everything was covered. Now I've got the 4, I've got the 5, I've got the 6 and the 6. You see, I left out that. So ticking helps a lot. So I need to go back there and say plus 8y. Then it's plus 4 minus 5. You know, these are small things that you do in an exam. Remember, when you're under pressure, such things are easy to miss out. So when you've done that, use your calculator now, and your calculator is the one that is going to be able to just give you answers. 9 minus 12 here, it's what? It's negative 3. Then minus 6 minus 6 plus 8 is giving me a negative 4. So here is negative 3y squared minus 4y. 4 minus 5 is minus 1 is equal to 0. Depends how you want to work. You can interchange the signs. You can work on it like that so that you can go straight to your quadratic, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. You start matching like that. Start matching. You do this with a pencil. A is negative 3. B is negative 4. C is negative 1. Their aim is to check if you are able to pick up these errors. So what is the formula? The formula is x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac everything over 2a. You get this? Then you have to solve now for x. But you're not solving for x, by the way. Remember, you are yet to find x. What are you solving for? You are solving for y. So you're going to say your y there is minus b. So it's minus. And the b is also having its own negative. That's why it's that bracket. Plus or minus. Minus 4 squared. Minus 4. My a, this time is also negative 3. My c is also negative 1. All over 2. And my a is negative 3. As you can see, the aim of this is to make sure you make some errors. So now take a calculator and have that negative bracket negative 4 plus square root of bracket negative 4 squared minus 4 minus 3 and minus 1 like that over 2 negative 3. When I do that, I've got the first value of x, y is minus 1, play back, put a negative, and y is negative 1 over 3. So y is equal to minus 1 or y is equal to negative 1 over 3. It's always good to test one of the values just to see if ever it works. So let's test with the 1, for example. If I test with minus 1 over 3, the one that looks a little bit out of line, into my original, so it's minus 3 into negative 1 over 3. I've got minus 3 outside there. Remember, you don't want to continue with the wrong value of y so that it will give you a wrong value of x. So you better test it into the last one that you did on your quadratic, which is minus 4 bracket negative 1 over 3 Alright, minus 1. It must give me a 0. So far so good. Now when I've done that, I've got the values of y. Now I can then use whatever I have to find the values of x. Now equation 3, I must bring back equation 3 because equation 3 helps me find the x values. Now equation 3 says what? Equation 3, what does it say? X is equal to 2 minus 3y. Now you're going to have two values. Remember, one of them is when y is equal to minus 1. The other one is y is equal to negative 1 over 3. So that you will have then x minus 3. Where there is y now, you put negative 1. In the other one, x, actually, I think I wrote this thing wrong now. Let's do it again. X is equal to 2 minus 3 bracket negative 1. The other one, x is equal to 2 minus 3 bracket negative 1 over 3. You see that? So this other one, x is equal to 2 plus 3. So x is equal to 5. Right? And the other one, x is equal to 2. Just use a calculator. On all of these, I know sometimes I'm tempted also to use my own thinking, but use a calculator as your go-to place. So take a calculator, just punch it. 2 minus 3, don't take you long, negative 1 over 3. This helps you to be less prone to errors. And then x is equal to 3. You just write that answer, x is equal to 3. Now when I've done that, I've got two values. You can see how the values are. You can literally write them like this. You're allowed in coordinates form to say here, when x is 5, start with x. Remember, the coordinates are x and y. So don't forget that. The coordinates are x and y. So when x is 5, y is negative 1. Or when x is 3, y is negative 1 over 3. This is how you can present your answer. Now, what do? Go to the original equations that you started with. Now, input the values and make sure that they balance. For example, you are saying when x is 5, y is negative 1. So you take a calculator, and then with that, you say when x is 5 in the first one, so 5 plus 3 bracket negative 1, it must give us 2. So far so good. Test with the second one. X is 5, 5 squared plus 4, x is 5, y is negative 1 minus 5. It must give us a 0. You see that? Then you can test it also with the other pair of values, and it must also balance like that. So that is how you solve this particular question, which is a 5 marks of simultaneous equation. Then lastly is question 1.3. It's also like algebra. These are questions solving for x, because they say it's solve for x. It says a rectangular box has dimensions a, b, and c. The area of the surfaces are this. Okay, so these are the dimensions a, b, and c. And the area of the surfaces, they give us the areas there. As you can see, they've done, this is the area of that, this is the area of that, this is area of that. And then it says calculate without using a calculator the volume of the rectangular box. Okay, they want the volume of this whole box. Now, volume of the box, the volume. Now picture it like this. If they want the volume, you know how to find the volume of this. Now V is equal to length times breadth times height. Now V is our length, is our A, our breadth is our B, our height is our C. So V is ABC in a way, A times B times C. So we got that, but now they say without using a calculator, we need to know what is our A, what is our B, and what's our C. I think this whole question was made about that. Now let's focus on this shaded part for now that I'm shading. Now if I'm looking at this, what is the area of this shaded part? Area of a rectangle, that's area of that rectangle, is equal to A times C, right? And they told me the area, so which means AC is equal to 6 root 5, because they told me here that the areas are given, so that is the area. I do the same thing if I want the area of this side here, like this. If I want the area of that side, the formula is length times breadth, which is B times C. So I can say area there, BC or B times C, is equal to 3 root 2. I hope you see now how this thing is going. And then the top one now, the top side here, if I want its area, this top side, now the area of the top side there is, remember, this part is A and this side is B, so it's A times B. So that formula there, if I use it, I'll be having, in this case, A times B, or AB, is equal to 2 root 10. So now I've got 3 unknowns, hence 3 equations. This is equation 1, that's equation 2, that's equation 3. Now you need to have an experience of how to solve such questions. For example, let me focus on the first one. Let me make, in the first one, for example, let me make A the subject of the formula. I will have to divide by C. AC over C is equal to 6 root 5 over C. So that now I've got my A. See that? A is 6 root 5 over C. So I've got my A. That was the first one that I chose. What about I go for the second equation and I want to make B the subject of the formula? Again, it will be in terms of C. So I divide by B. So BC over C, I divide by C, is 3 root 2 over C, such that I have got B is 3 root 2 over C. Now look at this. This is now interesting. Look at this one. I've got these 2 equations and I've got that equation. All of them, they're in terms of C. But I also have AB, which is very interesting. So this is my A, this is my B. So where there is A and B, I put this side and that side. So if I do that, where there is AB, remember, AB is equal to 2 root 10, but my A is 6 root 5 over C times my B is 3 root 2 over C is equal to 2 root 10. Do you see now how this thing was kind of forming up? Now it's, how do I simplify that? Multiply the top together, which is 3 times 6, I'll get 18. 5 times 2, it will be root 10 over C squared is equal to 2 root 10. Now multiply by C squared, multiply by C squared, then you have 18 root 10 is equal to 2 root 10 C squared. Divide by 2 root 10, divide by 2 root 10. Why am I doing it? So that I remain, remember it's multiplying, I can only do the division. Cancel there, cancel there. 2 into 18 is 9. So you have got C squared is equal to 9, square root both sides. C is plus or minus 3. Now since we're dealing with sides of a rectangle, therefore C is positive, C is equal to 3. So we know the value of C. We have to now find the other values. Remember, we said our A, if you remember now, we said our value for A here A was equal to 6 root 5 over C, but now I'm going to put the value of C over 3. You cancel there, 2, so A is equal to 2 root 5. Again with the B is equal to 3 root 2 over C. Now substitute C with 3, so B is equal to root 2. Now the formula, remember what the formula we said, the formula is length, V is A times B times C. So when we substitute now, V will be equal to, get the value of A, which is 2 root 5, 2 root 5 times, get the value of B, which is root 2, times get the value of C, which was 3. So V there, they said without using a calculator, but you can now use a calculator for this. Now 5 times 2, 2 times 3, this multiplies only, which is 6, and these 2 also multiply inside, which is root 10. But you can use a calculator and they won't even penalize you for that. You can actually say 2 times root 5 times root, be careful how you do your root now, play forward, times root 2 times 3, which is 6 root 10. So the answer there was 6 root 10. So guys, what is the mark allocation for this? The mark allocation for this question was, of question 1 is 22 marks. Now you need to see yourself getting all these marks without a doubt. If you can miss it, it can be in question like this, but the questions on top, don't even think about losing any marks, because this is where you build your confidence, you build your momentum. And as I said, I wanted to bring this question 1 to you. I'll bring, as the year progresses, I'll be bringing them time and again. So keep watching the videos. Remember to subscribe to our channel so that we can notify you whenever there is a new video that pertains to you. We've got grade 8 until grade 12. We've got maths N1, N2, N3. But remember, mathematics is mathematics. Sometimes you can benefit even if you're not doing that curriculum. Just by watching without doing much, you can actually get a concept. Now subscribe. Send this channel to your friends so that they can also subscribe. The more you subscribe and the more you give us feedback, the more we are able to know if we are doing the right thing for you guys. If you don't comment, if you don't subscribe, we think that these videos are not worth anything to you. So now I will encourage you to press that button to subscribe, and see you again next time. Thank you.